All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick. Over there on the other side of the comms is Justin. You're probably thinking, what the heck are they doing so close to another video already coming out? I know. We usually do these once per week. However, news broke. Big news. So we thought that we should break the 1 week of video schedule just this one so far to go and explain this news to you. Because, by tomorrow, it's probably going to be all over everyone's news feeds, if not already. So, what's this big news? Well, you might have heard a while back, let's say October-ish, roughly. Microsoft announced they would be buying Activision Blizzard, or at least they would be attempting to, for 69 billion. That's a lot of money. And not only is this a lot of money, this is also a legendary merger because Activision Blizzard is, Activision Blizzard. They own the CODs, they own the World of Warcrafts, they own a bunch of things. And if Activision Blizzard it gets bought by Microsoft, now Microsoft would be the one owning your CODs, your World of Warcrafts. And there's a bit of a history as to why this is done. Again, some people think that it might have been kind of bailout money for the whole business with the lawsuit issue a while back. For those who don't know, there was kind of another big scandal in Activision Blizzard. I believe it was involving sexual assault cases. That really became a big thing. And, there were some people saying the theory goes that Activision might have been bought up by Microsoft to kind of make the problem go away. Microsoft may have been in a position to offer that deal because Activision was desperate. But again, those are theories for another day. Point is that they tried and they almost succeeded. Well, they are succeeding because again, they tried to buy them. And while Activision said yes and Microsoft said yes, the FTC, who are the big controllers of the internet in the United States, the federal body that does that, said no. They sued Activision Blizzard they sued Microsoft, or yeah, basically on the grounds that basically what they were doing was basically trying to create a monopoly. They were trying to shrink competition, which has been one of the big topics that some people say came out of all this um, consolidation in the games industry recently.
Hmm.
Some people have said that the big companies, since they are buying up all these big studios, like it's not unheard of for studios to buy other studios, but these are the big console makers buying some of the biggest names. Like recently, again, like you might have heard, a few months prior to them buying Activision Blizzard, or attempting to anyway, Sony bought Bungie, which was another major consolidation. Activision also in that same year bought, either that same year or the year before that, bought Mojang. I believe that's what they call themselves.
Mojang, yeah.
Yeah, Mojang, who, control both Skyrim, Bethesda in general, and a bunch of other studios, I believe, including Arcane, who makes Dishonored and a few other games. So, you know, lots of big consolidations. And the FTC so far has said nothing. But this is a major player in the games industry. Not only because they bring in a lot of major titles, they also bring in a lot of major money. And at the end of the day, let's be honest, that's what these companies tend to fight over anyway. Not the game companies, the money that they can make from the game companies. Because again, COD itself is, in this particular case, COD is kind of the major sticking point. Like, once Activision revealed, as Microsoft did as well, that Microsoft would be buying them, the entire games industry and its big shots kind of went into a panic, Sony specifically, because again, COD brings in a lot of money.
And they really
And
wanted that.
yeah. So, one second. Someone just tried to call me on the chat, good friend, but I'll have to answer that later. So sorry, good friend. Um, but regardless. So, Sony went into a panic because obviously, much like Microsoft stuff before, they thought, or Mojang stuff before, they thought, well, once Microsoft gets their hands on Activision, all the COD stuff is going to become proprietary yearly. And again, COD makes a fleeting ton of money for everyone involved, not just Activision Blizzard, who they are famously known for. So Sony got a bit panicky, but they couldn't really do anything. But I think the FTC decided to step in anyway because that maybe they tipped off the FTC. I don't know. There's no proof of that. That may just be my guess. I don't know. But the FTC again did get involved and did take Microsoft to court over the deal. So what happened? Well, again, big news recently broke that the deal went through. The judge found that Microsoft's actions were in the right and that they could buy Activision. So, what happens now? Well, the
Well,
FTC's case against
real
Microsoft.
quick, I'm gonna
Yeah.
hold it. Yeah, you said Activision twice. Microsoft was in the right, and they could get or Microsoft was right, and they could take Activision.
Oh, have I been reversing it?
No, no, you basically said Activision could take Activision.
Oh, whoopsies. My mistake. My
Mistake.
mistake, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, you're not wrong. Activision can take Activision.
Take Activision. I mean, Activision has been taking Activision for years, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
regardless. But yeah, so the deal went through, or might very well go through now, because the judge said Microsoft can indeed buy Activision. And again, that's $69 billion on the table between the two of them, which is a lot of bleating money. But let's be honest, Xbox can very much foot the bill. Of course, the FTC has appealed, or has at least attempted to appeal. Of the many videos in the comments, or in the many articles in the comment section below, I believe we have 4. One of them does detail how the FTC is attempting to appeal the loss to Microsoft in that acquisition case. They still hold that this does indeed violate corporate monopoly laws, among other things. But again, apparently the legal system of the United States disagrees. So where do we go from here? Well, it seems, for the most part at least, that, well, with one judge backing them, that the deal will go through and Activision will soon be the property of Microsoft, much like Mojang is now. So yeah, that's one major consolidation in the games industry that has also gone through. Again, I can see the FTC's point here. With Mojang now belonging to Microsoft and Bungie to Sony, it's again not unheard of for companies to be bought up by bigger companies. Hell, EA's been doing it for who knows how long now. Well, I say buy up. Let's be honest, the old mantra scoop up and screw up has always held true to them. So I'll prefer them in the presence of Activision, or I'll prefer them in the presence of Microsoft than to EA. But let's be honest, there's some warped reality here where EA successfully buys Activision Blizzard, and I'm not sure how that would turn out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
It's like some Yu-Gi-Oh fusion between like the world's most evil game companies. I sacrifice EA and Activision Blizzard to create Hellspawn. But
Waste of
regardless,
money.
waste of money. Uh, Greed Beast Omega. But anyways,
Yes.
uh,
Nevertheless.
nevertheless, though, it is interesting to see. Like, again, these major consolidations have been happening a lot more recently, and I can see why the FTC is concerned, like I said, because, the game space is starting to become smaller and smaller because all these big name individual companies that sold to both sides are now being bought up by one side or the other. We're starting to see battle lines get drawn between Sony and Activision, which is kind of funny because between Sony and Microsoft, which is funny because Microsoft themselves at the start of the Series X generation even said that, we don't streaming, we're not in the console wars anymore. That's basically what Phil Spencer, the big boss at Microsoft Xbox, said. And they're kind of trying to play kumbaya with everyone, which, at the time sounded nice and for a while rang true, but seeing them buy up Mojang, now trying to buy up Activision Blizzard, I don't know.
Isn't
Granted, I can also.
doesn't exactly 100% hold true.
I didn't say it rings true, right? Like I said, we're seeing battle lines get drawn here. Granted, I can see why Activision is buying up so many companies in the big studios. For those who remember back in the Xbox X era, the previous generation Xbox Series X, yes, the naming convention between this generation and the last is weird. We all know.
Well
um,
aware. Well aware.
well aware, but I really want to question the logic behind whoever thought of that name. Like, did they just run out of cool names? I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe if I go to a convention and meet them, I'll ask them. No, I'm definitely asking that. But regardless, um, the Xbox Series. There I go again, screwing up the convention names. The Xbox X. Yes, the Xbox X and S. Not the Series, but the X and S. Again, convention's weird. But regardless, the old generation before this one was criticized. And I think they even had that in the generation before that with the Xbox 360, but I could be wrong on that one. They were criticized that their first party titles, their kind of exclusives, the things that draw people to the platform, were pretty slim and, far between. Yeah, they got a lot of good titles, but those titles were generally, console wide, so to speak. Sony had them as well because they were playing with people who sold to both sides. So, in a way, this is, you could say, Microsoft's way to make up for losses because now they're trying to buy major game companies. Again, Mojang and Activision. That's a lot of games that are now technically proprietary if this goes through. So, I guess no one can say Microsoft doesn't have a lot of good proprietary first parties anymore because,
They do.
they do. But again, this does raise an interesting question. Where will this leave Sony? Sony panicked at Mojang, but they didn't really do much about it. But I'm sure whoever's in charge of Sony, I can't remember who the CEO of Sony is, I can't remember his name. He's probably sitting somewhere, pardon my language, shitting a brick because this is
Not exactly
not
what you
good.
want to be seeing.
Not good, no. Because again, just COD alone brings in, I'm sure, millions, if not billions, yearly for Microsoft and Sony together because again, Activision sold to both sides. Now the question becomes that Activision is now technically most likely soon to be the property of Microsoft. Will they hold true to selling to Sony? Because if they don't, they are quite literally denying Sony a massive chunk of income. And that is by no means an accident when they do that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that COD makes a lot of money. And I'm just saying COD here, let's be honest. There are other games on the market that are making a ton of money that come from Activision Blizzard. There's this new one. What's it called? You might have heard of it. Diablo 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. You know that one. That one.
yeah, that one. That one. But again, the games Activision makes tend to make a lot of money. And so that money now all technically belongs to Microsoft if this deal goes through. I don't think I've heard anything about Activision having their games denied to Sony yet. But again, technically, they don't belong to Microsoft yet. Because again, this deal has yet to officially go through because of all the legal issues. But when it does,
There's
we
gonna
will
be a
see.
lot to see.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to see. I'm sure the head of Sony is already sending frantic emails to Phil Spencer, being like, "Will you give us COD at least?" I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's the big news. I thought you all should know because again, this is very big news. I'm sure Justin over here would agree.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Like that's a fairly large acquisition to see what comes of that. Like if people
Hmm.
thought PlayStation and Bungie was going to be big, well, this is in a way technically bigger.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't remember when it comes to financial weight. Like, if memory serves, the biggest deal we've seen in the games industry so far was Mojang's acquisition, which was,
Mm.
I think, 100 billion. I think, but I don't remember that
Uh,
number off the top of my head.
somewhere, yeah.
Let's just look that up now for the sake of posterity. How much was Mojang bought for? Was Mojang bought for? Sold for. Here we go. No, in September 2014, Microsoft agreed to buy Mojang, so several years before. My goodness, was it so long ago at this point? I thought it was not that long ago. For 2.5 billion. So, 2.5 billion, which was considered a record at the time. That is a drop in the mother ocean at this point.
Yep.
Because remember, 2.5 billion is just 2.5 billion. If this deal goes through, that's 69 billion. That's a lot more billions.
Just a couple. Just a couple.
That's a couple, just a couple. So this might take the record, I think, of the largest deal in gaming history when it comes to acquisitions, because I am pretty certain EA does not dole out that kind of money for acquisitions. Hell no. They generally tend to play in the green, so to speak, so they can always make their money back, even if the games they make flop, which they always do. But I digress.
Yeah. It's gonna be Yeah, no, it's gonna be really weird to see what's gonna come of this, because Activision's had a lot of stuff going on within the most recent year, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna see where it goes with that. Is it getting swept under the rug? Is it being put somewhere? What's going to happen, Activision? What now?
One of the most interesting things that I think will come out of this is kind of the same kind of logic that we had when Mojang was bought by Microsoft. And to quote the words of a certain critic, Jim Sterling, don't let them make any decisions or do anything. Basically, what I mean by that is when Microsoft was bought, or screwing up the names, when Mojang was bought by Microsoft, everyone thought, wow, this will mean Microsoft might actually ensure that Mojang puts out games that are not totally broken entirely.
Yeah,
You know, corporate decision to not make them do anything might kind of curve their worst impulses, so to speak.
maybe.
Because
It's not a
Microsoft,
guarantee, but it's a
yeah,
maybe.
it's not a guarantee, don't get me wrong. But for all of Microsoft's faults, they are generally considered a better company, morally speaking, than both Mojang and Activision Blizzard. Well, in the case of Activision Blizzard, that's not a very high bar to cross. But, anyways,
Nevertheless.
nevertheless, Microsoft's corporate oversight might curve some of the company's worst impulses. I don't know if that happened with Mojang. I don't think it's turned out that bad, truth be told, when it comes to corporate.
Mojang's in an interesting spot right now. A lot of
They're
people
in
are
it.
worried about some specific stuff that's been recently happening in the most last 2 years. But other
No,
than that, it's mainly just in the speculation phase. But the concern is real.
you would know more about that company
Mm,
than me. He's a diehard, Fallout fan, so he knows more about that than me.
yeah, yeah. Still,
I'll openly admit that. But for Activision Blizzard, well, do I even need to say what they're well known for? Greed, 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 greed.
money, please, money now.
That, and of course, the sexual assault lawsuits, which were also a while ago, which preceded this acquisition deal. Which, as I
Yes.
said before, the theories go that they might have been offered this deal by Microsoft to kind of, here, I'll buy you and make the problems go away. Because it was, I don't want to say a death spiral for them, but it wasn't exactly pretty. Which, in fairness, seeing Activision burn, I gotta admit, I got some marshmallows out. But, anyways, we'll see if this does curve Activision's worst greed
Intentions and whatnot.
intentions. Because, oh, there are many of those. Mojang's greatest defense, to my knowledge, was just making games in a both crunch environment and, well, can we even say they make games? I mean, when it comes to Bethesda, the games they make are, I'm sure under some definitions considered
Games,
games
in
when
some
they
way.
work. When they work, you know,
There's
they are.
something.
There's something. When you work them right, they technically work.
Yeah.
Kind of like my old college programs. They technically work.
Technically,
Under the right
something's supposed to
circumstances.
happen. It's just,
Technically.
know.
They don't always. Well, no, something might happen, just not what you expect. But
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, again, that's the big news. Thought you all should hear. It's major stuff, so we thought we'd break the 1 week cycle for it.
Yep.
Will we break the cycle in the future? Don't
Maybe.
know. Hard to
Depends.
say. Maybe. Yeah, it depends. If there's news big enough to warrant it, then yes. But generally, we'll save it till the next week. That's how we've been doing it so far. We're happy with the system. Doesn't work us too hard. Doesn't work him too hard because you have to edit the videos. So, we'll see. Depends. If we both agree to it. But anyways, that's the news. Any comments, Justin, over this major deal in retrospect or
Not
in the end?
Not particularly. We will just have to wait and see what happens with Activision and where Microsoft's decisions decide to take it.
If all goes well,
if
Microsoft
things
shall
continue to be hidden.
hidden. Well, if all goes well, they shall be soon the owners of Activision. But we shall see. We shall see. My goodness, can you imagine Microsoft owning World of Warcraft?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that would be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
There are going to be more microtransactions or less. Probably more.
Probably more. I can already see it now. Freaking Halo World of Warcraft crossover.
Bro.
Got like a dwarf skin you can put on the grunts.
Yeesh.
If there's any Microsoft employees who ever hear of this, yeah, sure, you can have that one. I'm sure it would cause...
I'm pretty sure that one's already been in the works for a while here. Let's be honest here. Halo kind of needs something at this point.
Gotta make them World of Warcraft skins. Could be worse. They could buy Square Enix and they could have Final Fantasy skins. Gonna make the Warthog look like a chocobo.
Oh boy.
Oh, I'm sure that would just be pleasing to see. Well, it would be for me. Maybe not for you. Cut to Justin immediately smashing his copy of Halo Infinite.
Somebody gonna take a little bit of a rocket launcher with RPG magic.
I can just see him now. We gotta insert the meme of Justin just tossing his computer at the side of the window.
Somebody touch the warthog.
But anyways, we'll leave you there for that for this week again. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Tell me down in the description. Tell us down in the description. What do you think of this deal? You think it'll go over well? Do you think this will be a good thing for the games industry as a whole? Do you think this is a bad thing? Do you agree with the FTC? Is this a very bad thing to happen? We all have our own opinions, and truth be told, I can see both sides of this argument very well. So, enlighten me. Where do you stand on this?
Yep.
And with that said, have a good week. Again. See you next week.
Have a good one, folks.
Hopefully we'll see you next week this time.
Hopefully. Oh, wow, we likely will see you next week, but still.
Well, yeah. Unless we do it sooner, Another big news. Tomorrow's big news. Big news. EA caught fire. Everything's gone.
Everything is dead. The game is over. Your company is gone. Say goodbye.
Your company is
you
gone.
Get no more game.
Hey. If you ask me, the destruction of FIFA would not be a major loss. I'd be cheering if that'd just be me.
Especially when the gameplay has been the exact same for
who knows how
7
long.
years. It's literally just new players.
Hey, we're not even lying. The FIFA players are the ones saying that, not just us.
Yep.
Take it up with them.
Well, you've got the one type of FIFA player, and then you get the other type. So.
Yeah, well, I feel pity for both of them equally. But regardless, have a good week, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.